but that was on harmonica. You record it? Bloomfield suddenly sat back. He looked at Susie and then at his host. You know Big Joe. Baby, please don't go? That Big Joe? Yeah, said Bob. I met him in New York. We shared a bottle of schnapps and made a record. But I'm not much of a harp player either. Dylan smiled at the couple, and for a moment no one said anything. Then all three burst out laughing. Man, you know Big Joe, Michael said shortly. I'll bet you know now never to have a drink with him. So who else do you know? By the time Dylan's coffee arrived, the folk singer and his two guests were in the midst of a private hootenanny. Bloomfield had his guitar out and was running through a few numbers by Big Joe. Bob was improvising comic verses, trying to follow along on his guitar, while Susan sang harmony. All three laughed and joked as Michael moved on to blues by Reverend Gary Davis, Son House, Tampa Red, and Big Bill Brunzi. Soon they were singing Woody Guthrie songs, recreating Hollers by Leadbelly, and picking country ballads by Hank Williams. It seemed that Dylan knew every song Bloomfield could name, and that Michael could play every style Bob could name. An hour flew by, and then another. And by the time Dylan had to prepare for the evening's performance, he and Michael Bloomfield were rocking through tunes by Chuck Berry, Little Richard, and the King, Elvis Presley. Hell, man, Bob said to his new friend as he stood up. You are just about the best damn guitar player I have ever heard. Though the foregoing scenario is a dramatization, the basic facts surrounding Michael Bloomfield's first encounter with Bob Dylan are not fiction. When Bloomfield went down to the Bear on Ontario Street on Thursday, May 2nd, 1963, he fully intended to cut one of the rising stars of the New York folk revival. Dylan was just about to release his second album on Columbia, to great critical acclaim, but Bloomfield couldn't understand what all the fuss was about. He had heard the folk singer's debut recording and found it laughable. The man couldn't sing, and he couldn't play guitar. Time to teach this upstart a lesson, Michael thought. As one of Chicago's finest young guitarists, someone who'd played with Muddy Waters, Howlin' Wolf, and countless other blues masters, as well as Big Joe Williams, Bloomfield knew he had the bona fides to do it. It was opening week for the Bear, a nightclub in a rundown Chicago mansion that had formerly been a French restaurant called L'Aiglon. A warren of dusty Victorian rooms, the venue offered its patrons weirdness accompanied by holy rollers, sexologists, and occasionally musicians, and was described as the dream residence of a Charles Addams couple. The creation of Second City founder Howard Alk, the Bear featured an eclectic roster of entertainment that first week, with gospel singer Bessie Griffin headlining. Dylan was included in the Thursday night show because his manager, Albert Grossman, was the club's primary investor. He hoped the folk singer would attract an audience. He did attract Mike Bloomfield, and two things happened when Bloomfield found Dylan in one of the club's dingy dining rooms. First, Michael was completely disarmed by Bob's affability. The folk singer's quiet charm, quick wit, and self-effacing modesty easily won Bloomfield over. Any desire to humiliate the folk star was forgotten. The two became fast friends, and remained so throughout Michael's life. The second thing that happened was that Bob Dylan, who would become one of the great influences on American pop culture in a career spanning more than half a century, encountered a guitar player whose virtuosity astonished him. Michael Bloomfield's intelligence, knowledge of music, and mastery of its many styles made a powerful and lasting impression. In a few years, Bloomfield would help Dylan reshape his own music, leading to a pop revolution that would define much of the music of the 1960s and 1970s. Nearly 5 decades after they first met, Bob was still in awe of his friend's artistry. He could just flat out play. He had so much soul, and he knew all the styles, and he could play them so incredibly well, Dylan told Rolling Stone. Bloomfield was the one guitarist who, for Bob Dylan, set the standard for all the others. Michael was the one he never forgot. Today, though, many people seem to have forgotten Mike Bloomfield. It wasn't always so. Bloomfield was a big star in his day.
To keep listening to this audiobook for free, click the link in the description. It will take you to a free Audible trial where you can listen to this and many other books for free for 30 days.